Designated Survivor Episode 18, Lazarus. This is an interesting episode. It was the, supposedly super epic reveal of who in the world the White House Speaker was. Naturally, it came out to be like the super weirdest revelation ever, because I'm like, who is this guy? Like, I forgot he even showed up in the beginning of this episode, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I just saw this guy, but I was like, I mean, dang, he showed up in, I think, 2 other episodes. I was reading, like, another article where they mentioned he shows up in, like, 3 episodes beforehand. So, this is a guy who I didn't even know we'd seen before this episode. Whitaker is the guy's name. And so, he is actually the person that's been this big whistleblower within the house. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. It wasn't cool or epic because, of course, the way they did the promo was like, it's going to be revealed, and of course they make it seem like it's going to be one of the main characters who has like a super secret agenda, and it's not that. It's a totally different person. All the good guys are the good guys, excuse me, and it was just nothing. It was like, okay, I mean, it's a reveal, but it's almost not even a reveal because we don't really even know this character, so it's just like, okay, that's the whistleblower. It wasn't really like a reveal, kind of like they touted it to be, and I'm just like, meh. Still, we know who it is, and so we know exactly what information he has now, because even in the beginning of this episode, he's like, yeah, so Atwood, this happened with Atwood, and this is what happened during this case with Lozano, and like, maybe this is what happened there. And it adds some perspective to some earlier scenes. It's like, okay, that's actually kind of cool, because he's the one who knows exactly how far the actual good guys are getting. He's like, okay, well, I just gave Hannah Wells this exact bit of detailed information, so this is what we have to look out for now. And that's probably why they actually went after Hannah by the end of this episode, because they were like, okay, I gave her like basically the exact information that she needed in order to find out that it wasn't Lozano. And of course that was like the whole episode. We started figuring out who this fake body was and what was going on and where Lozano was, and really proving to everyone else that she did see him and that he is actually alive. So after all the madness she went through trying to prove to everyone, even going back to the, I forgot what it was called, but it's something Reed Company, we find out that the guy who has like all this money, all this power, he's one of the driving forces behind this sort of secret organization. He may or may not be the one at the top, considering they talk about how much power he has. He could actually be the one behind the entire thing. And they kind of point towards that a little bit, just because it's like he's so incredibly powerful and things like that. And, he's helping all these other people, and it's like, I don't know, maybe it's him. With this type of show, I wouldn't be surprised if there was someone even above him that maybe didn't have as much money, just had the idea, and he was able to be like the face of this organization because he had the power. So, could actually be him. There could be some, one person or multiple people above him, but of course, they go towards him, they try to ask him some questions, he acts like he doesn't know. He ends up reciting exactly what's in the Pax Americana book, so they know that he's involved, and of course with him being so powerful, they know if he's not completely in charge, which he most likely is, he's the one who got the silo, he's the one who got the bombs. Either way, he's a big player, so they know that they have a really huge lead in that regard. And now he seems to be playing a big role in the next episode, and things are going to get fairly intense. And of course they have to find Hannah in the next episode, and things just get really crazy by the end of it. But certainly a fun episode, and it actually starts off with, things are going pretty well. Everybody's super happy, gun law passed, all this good stuff. Hookstratten might be the VP, and then boom, here comes this random news source out of nowhere. There's some real, not really any issues, but it's just like, I see this, so I'm thinking this, and people aren't looking at any real facts, and they're just kind of putting things together themselves. So of course, Hookstratten is kind of on the burner in this episode, and she plays it cool. She was really cool about it. Bowman actually still shows up. I thought he was done, and it's like, nope, he's still managing to be like this weird political antagonist for the characters. So he ends up aligning himself with this reporter who basically we find out hated Hookstratten because she busted him because he was doing some bad stuff, and she gave him the chance to resign instead of like destroying him. She gave him the chance to kind of do it quietly, and he was mad at her because he wasn't good enough. He got busted. So he was mad at her. He teamed up with someone else who was mad, put out the news to kind of sink her career and kind of get her out of there. And of course Bowman wants that as well. So they team up, and ultimately she's like, check this out, I'm not an idiot, so I still kept all the evidence on you even after 12 years. and I gave it to Bowman, and I highly doubt that he want to keep himself attached to someone who is such a liar. And I was like, that was a genius way to do that. So that was great. He was mad when he left, and I'm sure Bowman wasn't too happy. We don't get to actually see him upset. I was kind of just imagining it because I just hate that guy. But I was like, that's cool. That was a genius way for her to pull that off. So she ends up at least stopping any extra crap coming her way just because two guys don't really like her that much. So I thought that was a cool way for her to do it. And of course, she has to be investigated and stuff. And I'm sure ultimately, because nothing actually happened, she'll be fine. It was just meant to be a big issue. But Kirkman doesn't care about that crap. He talks to her and he's like, she said she didn't do anything wrong. It's normal. He even says it before he talks to her, like, this is like no real big deal. It's really nothing at all. So he doesn't really care what anyone else is thinking, and he wants her to be the vice president. So we'll probably see that in a couple episodes because she has to go through the investigation, and then there will probably be another episode where the whole episode is about the backlash of him saying, I still want her to be vice president. I'm sure that'll be an episode as well. But I thought it was cool. I liked the way they, played the political side of this. But ultimately, it was just like, hey, she had an issue. She dealt with it pretty straightforward. It was like, you hated me because I busted you. So I still got the evidence, sent it to the one person I hate, so he'll, stop teaming up with you. So the two douchebags will just now be on their own. And I like that. I thought it was a pretty cool way for her to end up handling that. And, the other side of the story, especially with the ending, was definitely entertaining. And they're getting, more evidence and more leads, even though they still don't have any proof. And now Hannah has been kidnapped, and we'll have to see how that plays out. But certainly a high-octane episode, I would say, especially as things started to get a bit intense once they got to the guy, because I'm like, I don't know what's about to happen here. Like, even when they first showed up, and he's like, oh, we have visitors, I instantly thought he was going to say, like, kill them or something. If I'm being totally honest, I'm like, I don't know. It's hard to say with this show. But, with the way they ended things off, I'm very excited for the next episode. But, of course, would love to know what you guys thought about this one, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, or least favorite parts. And, of course, I want to know your theories on how in the world they're going to end up saving Hannah Wells, because they got no leads. They really got nothing. I mean, I guess technically they have a lead, but I don't know what they're really going to do. I mean, he's, of course, because I can't think of the guy's name. I want to say his name is like Roy or Royce or something like that. He's going to, of course, end up staying away from Lozano. So they don't know where Lozano is. This guy's not going to attach himself to that and make it more obvious of a connection. So I'm very curious how they're going to do it. I don't really have any theories just yet, because I feel like anything I could think of at this point, they'd be smarter, it would just be smarter to not, kind of tie themselves down as far as this secret organization. Just Lozano takes care of this, the other guy takes care of being like the face of this secret organization and trying to do some other things. And they got so many elements, and then, the stuff with Whitaker. So I feel like they won't have any official leads. I feel like it might be something just done by chance. Maybe someone screws up as far as the bad guys, and somewhere down the line, maybe even this reporter, at some point, you'll figure it out and be like, okay, this is who I got my information from, and he's going to say it might take a minute before that happens, so I don't know if that'll have anything to do with saving Hannah, but I don't know, I feel like this reporter, with him getting so close to the truth, something's going to happen where he's going to find out who his source is, and he's going to be like, this is the man who said all of these things, but he might not do that, because, his whole thing is like, I wouldn't do that because, that's how I lost my job to begin with, I would never do that, which made me laugh in the beginning when we find out he was waiting there for like 3 hours or something like that. That was really funny to me. And then the guy hangs up and he just pulls off, and I was like, wow, that's kind of amped up. He was waiting. He was just sitting there watching him in the car, like, 20 feet away for like 3.5 hours. And he's just like, all right, I'm done talking. And he just leaves. I was like, wow, I cannot believe he actually just did that. Also, he did it in a government car. He didn't think to, like, I don't know. I guess that was the simplest way to do it. If they couldn't, you can't trace it back to any name. I guess that makes sense. Because I'm like, couldn't get like a rental car, some random person does it, anything, but that's easier to trace. It would, the law would be like, nope, government, too high in the government. So I guess it makes sense to use a government car. But I feel like something like that would be easy to track too. Like, okay, well, if this reporter says, hey, I met someone here between the hour, I was supposed to meet them at 11, and I ended up staying there until 2 in the morning. I would assume, this is just me guessing, but I like to think the government has trackers on all their cars. They could easily be like, okay, well, let's just see which car went to this location. And somebody does, these are some of the random things I feel like this reporter could end up doing. And it would totally screw up everything that this organization is planning, trying to feed him this extra information, like, this is what the government's hiding. And I feel like he'll just be like, oh, well, this is what happened, and someone in the government would be like, well, that's weird, and then they'd end up finding out that Whitaker is the source. So I feel like even though they're doing all this stuff to try to get the government, to seem bad, I think it might backfire just because this guy's a reporter. Like, it would just be by accident. Like, I need a name, I need to know who I'm talking to and what I'm dealing with. And he might end up talking with somebody else who just looks into it like, that's interesting that car would be there for so long. Poof. They're screwed. At least Whitaker is. I'm sure they'll just, kill him like everybody else. But I just feel like that's where things are headed with that. But that was a whole random tangent just because of a funny scene. But I just feel like they might be screwing up trying to feed this guy information because based off of what we've seen him do, I think he'll go beyond just being like, alright, well, I got this call or I'm waiting for this guy. And he'll end up saying something to somebody, trying to get some answers, and he'll end up giving some answers that are going to screw them over. That's my theory, at least, for what might happen. But, like I said, I really want to know how you guys think they're going to end up saving Hannah. And, of course, I really want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.